What we last saw was the transformation of healthcare from sick care to preventive care. That is something which is bound to happen in the next 10 years, no doubt. But probably the things beyond that, the creation of superhuman gene editing, all these things might take a little more time. But the first part is bound to happen in the next, I believe, in the next 10 years. Okay. Next is 3D printing or additive manufacturing. So we are getting into a different topic altogether. And in fact, most of, see, one of the first use cases of 3D printing was space travel. See, when you travel in space, I just imagine like Elon Musk is planning to go to Mars, and the travel time is not 1 hour or 2 hours or 1 day or 2 days, much more than that. And again, when you travel like that, your the vehicle that you travel in, some part might go defective. And is it possible to get the spare part from the factory or from the world? No, it is not possible. What is possible? You can only 3D print. So in fact, that was the first application where 3D printing as a whole was looked at as a possibility. So all these space traveling machines which are being developed today, uh, 3D printing is the core of it all. But even the entire space vehicle, in fact, Elon Musk's SpaceX, the entire thing is 3D printed, not manufactured otherwise. So, and again, the advantage in 3D printing is that if you do not like a design, you can change it very fast. Like, see, unlike conventional manufacturing where you make a mold and then make something, see here with 3D printing, if you do not like, you print 10 numbers, then when you put them on the road, you feel that some area needs improvement. Next one onwards, you can correct it. So that is the advantage. And again, 3D printing, there are two types of 3D printing. One was the conventional 3D printing, where it used to be one block, you chip off pieces from a block and create into something that is like, if it is a square block, you want to make a round block, you chip off the sides and make it into a round thing. But today, that is given, that was the old form of 3D printing. Today, it has given way to something called additive manufacturing, which means zero waste. So you add one layer over the other. So that is additive manufacturing. And with that, you can make anything. And most of us would definitely think that the possibilities are limited. That is not the case. See, this is only by Local Motors, the world's first self-driving cognitive 3D printed shuttle. It is self-driving, cognitive, and 3D printed, except some parts like tires and all. Everything else was 3D, some electronic parts, everything else was 3D printed. In fact, most of the conventions happening today in Europe and US, you can see this vehicle. They, at the entrance gate or the parking space, you can get into this vehicle and you can reach the actual venue. So most of the conventions today, the world-renowned, highly rated conventions today, you can see this vehicle flying on the venue. And again, next topic, which is very important, which is gaining a lot of significance, is manufacturing. And again, in manufacturing, there is something called Industry 4.0. See, the first industrial revolution was in the 19th century, uh, when steam and what mechanization, steam and water power. You would all remember the steam engines. So those were the days when that was the first industrial revolution. Then came mass production and electricity. That again, I'm sure we would all remember Henry Ford for his mass production and conveyor belt and production line. The third industrial revolution happened somewhere between 70s and 80s. It began with computers coming in, electronics and IT systems and automation. So that was the third industrial revolution. But now we are going to move into something called fourth industrial revolution or industry 4.0. Let us see what would constitute that. See, uh, in fact, a lot of technology is transforming industrial production in Industry 4.0. You can see them listed, starting with autonomous robots, simulation, AR, VR, augmented reality, virtual reality, system integration, upward and lower, downward, upward and downward integration, Internet of Things, IoT enabled. No, everything would be IoT enabled. Um, Artificial intelligence, cyber security, cloud computing, additive manufacturing, 3D manufacturing, augmented reality, big data analytics. See, what we are going to see is we are going to see the convergence of many of these technologies, and the end result would be a little different from what we have seen till now. See, today, if you see, China is the manufacturing capital of the world. Starting with your iPhone, your MacBook, um, almost everything today is manufactured. And before COVID, uh, I would say a major chunk of the products consumed the world over were manufactured in China. But again, thanks to COVID, there is a resistance to China, which I'm sure would help India also as a nation. Uh, Today, most multinationals want to move out, do not want China to be the lone supplier. And uh, if today China is the manufacturing capital of the world, years back, around the 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s were the times when America used to be the manufacturing capital of the world. But after some time, that moved from America to Japan. And again, after some time, it moved from Japan to South Korea. And from South Korea, it moved to China. And China has today become a dominant player due to the size and scale of the country. Before that, both Japan and Korea were literally small countries with limited population. But that is not the case with China. China has become an undisputed manufacturing capital of the world over the last 15 years. But with Industry 4.0 coming in, that is definitely going to change. Think of it. What is the reason why production moved out of United States? If during the 50s, 60s, and 70s, America was the manufacturing capital of the world, what was the reason for production moving out of United States? In spite of US even today being the biggest consuming market in the world, what is the reason for that? If we try to analyze that, we'll understand the reason. The reason is this: cost escalation. Labor cost escalation was the primary reason. When economic growth happens, wages also go up in proportion. And at one point of time, it became unaffordable for multinationals to produce anything in US because of the high wages, high labor cost. And that was the reason why, when they saw Japan emerging as a manufacturing destination, the world very fast moved to Japan. From Japan, it moved again to South Korea. But South Korea, it moved to China, and it has remained there for the last 10, 15 years. Uh, and not even 15 years, at least for the last 20 years. I would still remember 1997 when Korea was at its peak, going to South Korea and seeing the manufacturing manufacturing centers in Korea, and I was astonished. But if you see what now the manufacturing plants in China, it is way bigger than what I saw in Korea those days. And okay, now let us try to understand what that would do for our own small state, Kerala. Let us try to understand what will happen in Kerala. See, Kerala, again, even before COVID or COVID, used to be one of the biggest markets for Hindustan Unilever for their soaps and detergents. We had this habit of taking bath twice a day when rest of the country and rest of the world followed a different practice. We had a fancy to wash our hands every before every meal, um, having food before having food. But that was not the case in the other parts of the world. And because of that reason, for Hindustan Unilever, Kerala was one of the biggest markets. But in spite of that, did Hindustan Unilever have a manufacturing center in Kerala? No. What was the reason? The famous, what Kerala? The reason was labor pains, which Kerala was always famous for. Not the conventional form of labor pain, but the labor pain caused by the workforce in Kerala to industrialists and businessmen. So that kept industries, industrialists, and businessmen away from Kerala. But um, thanks to Industry 4.0, probably, I'm sure, 10 years from now, Hindustan Unilever would have a manufacturing base somewhere in Kerala. It would probably supply the entire requirement of the state of Kerala, not only Kerala, it might even supply to the requirements to Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Andhra also. Um, it might. But more than that, what is important is the entire plant will have only a limited number of employees. It will not need 2,000 or 3,000 employees. It might need 5 or 10 employees. The rest, everything, machines would take care. Robots, no, you can see the technology listed here: autonomous robots, simulation, system integration, upward and downward integration, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, cyber security, cloud computing, additive manufacturing, augmented reality, big data analytics. All these things would come together. Big data analytics is basically to predict the market requirements. See, all that would be possible. And that is how we are going to see uh, these companies start manufacturing in Kerala, right in Kerala, in spite of the labor pains. And again, two things are bound to happen. Distributed manufacturing. See, we are going to see the world over, we are going to see instead of these giant manufacturing centers in China, we are going to see distributed manufacturing close to the market or close to the raw material. That is what we are going to see in the days to come. Again, close to the raw material. One more example for you to understand, I'll give you. See, I told you I am a farmer. One of the things which I produce is rubber. India is one of the leading producers of rubber in the world. And from the total rubber, natural rubber produced in India, roughly 85% is produced in one state, Kerala. And again, Kerala is a big market for automobiles. In spite of that, no tire manufacturer manufactures tires in Kerala. Even the ones owned by our own Manorama Group, MRF, they have their manufacturing center with the plant in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu. Recent labor pains Kerala is famous for. And, but I'm sure 10 years, 15 years from now, with Industry 4.0 coming in, I'm sure the same tire would be manufactured in Kerala, but using all these technologies, but with limited number of employees, 5, maybe 10, not more than that. Anything more than that, Kerala would invite labor pains. So all the manufacturers, all the industrialists would be careful about that. And I'm sure Kerala would see both Hindustan Unilever and tire manufacturers coming to Kerala, looking at either the market or the raw material. So that is the transition that we are going to see not very far off into the future in in manufacturing. Now, what are the actual benefits industry that would derive out of industry 4.0? Let us see. See, the first advantage, the biggest advantage is going to be product quality and defect tracking. See, with IoT, see, manufacturers would be able to monitor the quality of the end product very closely. So if they see that a certain defect is coming up in a particular product, immediately they can change that, they can improve that. And especially with 3D printing and additive manufacturing, the entire prototyping cost, all that would come down and it would be possible to correct it very fast. Then real-time supply chain management, probably with no, the previous slide I showed big data analytics. With data analytics, they would be able to predict the market requirement sufficiently in advance and see that products are manufactured or products are ready in the go down. So all that is possible. Then improved contract negotiations through supplier performance data. See, all the suppliers would have performance data, and uh, based on their credibility, they can get into contracts. And again, that is one space. Contracts is one space where blockchain is going to come in a big way. So contract implementation, contract signing, and contract implementation. So all that would become easier and faster. And again, faster and cheaper product prototyping, faster and cheaper product prototyping. I mentioned about additive manufacturing. So which means if something is defective, it can be corrected very fast. It will not have to take 1 year or 2 year. No, it can happen in weeks. So which means product quality would go up considerably. And again, output and demand forecasting, process improvement, and predictive maintenance. See, all these, imagine Tesla. See, Tesla today is in a state where every car has got 4G or 5G connectivity, SIM card built into that, and the car continuously collect data. And before the car goes to a service station, the people sitting in the service station would know that this car needs this particular part replacement. So what they would do, they would arrange the part, and only then the car would come to the service station, and within no time it is replaced and car is taken out. This is already happening with Tesla, for your information. So this is the world that we are looking at with Industry 4.0. And again, after Industry 4.0 and future of manufacturing, we are going into another very interesting space. Um, Mankind is going to become a multiplanetary species. Stephen Hawking, some years back, predicted that if mankind is not able to transform itself from a single planetary species to a multiplanetary species, chances are mankind would become extinct by the end of this century. There is always a possibility. And again, especially if artificial intelligence enabled arms and ammunitions, today most companies, most countries have started looking at that possibility. And again, if that possibility become a reality and some crazy uh, leader decides to use that, it would be crisis. And that is probably the reason why Stephen Hawking has said that if mankind is not able to transform itself from a single planetary species to a multiplanetary species, mankind might become extinct before the end of this century. And again, let us see who all are into this. SpaceX. I think we all know about Elon Musk and SpaceX. Most of us read very often about that. And um, they are probably the most advanced in the space. And again, next in line would be Blue Origin by Jeff Bezos. Not many of you would know about this company. See, Jeff Bezos is very passionate. Who is Jeff Bezos? Jeff Bezos is the promoter of Amazon. And every year, a sizable part of his income is being spent into this company called Blue Origin. He is also very deeply passionate about space and the possibilities associated with that. I've listened to his talks, and he has said that probably some years down the line, the world that he visualized would be a world which would be clean and green. And with these kinds of possibilities, we could uh, move all the manufacturing to outer space and to other planets. Imagine a world where the entire world is clean and green, and all the products that we require, which would corrupt the surroundings, are manufactured in outer space and brought into the world. So that is the possibility Jeff Bezos is speaking about. So anything that could pollute can be sent to the next planet or outer space. And only we could look at a clean and green world here. So another company which is into the spaces, um, Virgin Galactic by Richard Branson. Who's Richard Branson? Virgin Atlantic Airlines. So it is his company. But again, his company is more into space tourism, nothing beyond that. Whereas Elon Musk is on a mission to set up a base in Mars. And Jeff Bezos has got a different idea of creating manufacturing base in other planets and in outer space. This man is into it is only a now tourism or so he's only looking at it in that tourism angle. And again, there is one more company, again by an Indian. Not many of you would know about this man. He is a billionaire, one of the richest Indian in Silicon Valley. His name is Naveen Jain. He has got a company called Moon Express. Moon Express, a very interesting person who came from very ordinary background. He grew up in Bihar in a very poor family, but got educated from IIT Kharagpur, and after that went to US. When he reached, it seems when he reached US, he had only $5 left in his pocket. Today, not today, in fact, around 15 years back, by the time he had become a billionaire, and he's today one of the richest Indian in Silicon Valley. So he has also got a company called Moon Express. He is also very passionate about this. But again, even his thing also is more into space tourism. Okay. Now, let us try to see some trends that can be seen evolving. Okay. Mm, see, in fact, over the slides that we have gone through, you would have got an idea on certain sectors. Um, um, the agriculture, we spoke about vertical farming, lab grown meat. I'm sure this is definitely going to change the scope of agriculture. See, in fact, as for me, I'm a person who was, in fact, I try to promote a concept called farmer to agripreneur, where I try to help farmers create multiple revenue streams that complement each other, which is exactly what I'm slowly building in my own plantation, where I bring in mechanization of farming, livestock farming, farm tourism, adventure tourism, all complementing each other in my creating in my farm. But again, if you ask me what is the future, in fact, the other day my son asked me this question: out of these models that you are creating, what would you say is the most futuristic? And I said, uh, vegetable cultivation, fruit cultivation, food cultivation, all that has always a possibility of being taken over by vertical farming. And again, livestock farming also to a great extent would go to lab grown meat. But probably since I'm based in Calicut, since we have a sizable Muslim population who are particular about halal meat, I might get customers for some areas. But having said that, eventually it will all become lab grown meat. So what am I left with? I'm sure I'll be left with farm tourism and adventure tourism. And again, thanks to artificial intelligence and robotics and machine learning, um, and and sensors and all that. See, all of us are going to have a lot of free time, and I'm sure I would have sufficient customers for farm tourism and adventure tourism in my farm. So I'm not concerned. Okay, I think all of us need to rework on our future aspirations based on these learnings. Now, what is going to happen in power sector? Power sector, fossil fuel is going to give way to renewable energy, and again, India in particular, I'm sure would be more into solar. No doubt about that. What is happening in transportation? Electric, autonomous cars are going to come in first. And immediately after that, not very far from that, we are going to see electrical vertical takeoff and landing aircrafts on one side, Hyperloop on the other side. Again, for your information, do you know that Hyperloop is being constructed in India? Do you know that? Again, for your information, it is happening both in India and in Dubai and many other places of the world. The work is already started. So it is not a far flung dream. It is very soon going to become a reality. Now, what is next? Manufacturing. Manufacturing, as I mentioned, no doubt, additive 3D printing and Industry 4.0 is going to change the landscape, no doubt, and the change is going to be phenomenal. Next, let us see what is going to happen in retail. We are going to see drones. We are going to see uh, uh, we are going to see drones. Then we are going to see autonomous trucks. We are going to see robots. All that is going to change the landscape of retail industry, and we are going to witness no, delivery in a very short span of time, which means what would normally take hours or days for delivery today wouldn't take that much time. For anything that is ordered online, we are going to get very fast, very soon. Okay, what about healthcare? Healthcare, we are going to see the transformation from sick care to preventive care. And on top of that, life expectancy is going to go up. And we are also going to witness the creation of superhumans. That is again something which is a little far off, but life expectancy going up is not very far off. Probably in the next 10 to 15 years time, we are going to see um, the transition from sick care to preventive care and life expectancy going up. The 60 to make 100 the new 60, that is not going to be very far off. So that is what we are looking at in healthcare space. But more than that, imagine a world where now if imagine Alexa advising you on the food that you should avoid when you are preparing a purchase list. Not very far off into the future, Alexa would know about your health conditions, and every time you place order for something on Amazon, you might uh, get a caution note. Probably if you have high blood pressure, and if you are buying salt, it would give you an indication that you already have a high BP. Careful, reduce your salt intake. So that kind of, it is not very far off. Imagine Alexa advising you on the food you should avoid. So see, imagine Amazon when they get into healthcare and retail, when they combine these two together, this is what we are going to see. And again, we are also going to see the emergence of mankind as a multi-planetary species. And we are going to see convergence of technologies. That industry 4.0 we are already seeing, but that on a bigger scale we are going to witness in the days to come. On top of all that, but again, on top of all this which we mentioned, the one thing that would play a dominant role would be artificial intelligence. Even artificial intelligence has to go through three stages of transformation. The first stage is artificial narrow intelligence. Artificial narrow intelligence is, in fact, see organizations like Google, Facebook, uh, Microsoft, all these have already achieved artificial narrow intelligence. Uh, do you want to see a demonstration of that? Okay, Google, say how do you do in Hindi?
In Hindi, you would say, "Aap kaise hain?"
Say how do you do in French? Okay, Google, say how do you do in French?
In French, that's "Comment allez-vous?" By the way, I can now translate back and forth. To try it, just keep speaking in.
Okay, Google, what is the weather like in Bangalore?
Here's a map of Bengaluru, Karnataka.
See, all this is possible with Google because of artificial intelligence. See, what happens is every time you ask something, that information. See, I've been using this phone for some time now. So the phone is already using machine learning. The phone has already learned my language, the way I speak, my vocabulary, all that the phone is already grasped. So for the phone, it is very easy to understand what I say now. If I pick up the phone from one of you, that wouldn't be easy. So what the Android does is it does machine learning while we are using the phone. After that, anything that we ask, what normally happens is it is first translated into a packet of information which will go into the cloud. into the artificial intelligence machine, which would translate or convert that packet and send it back to the machine. So we are seeing all that happening simultaneously using artificial intelligence. And today, this is actually artificial narrow intelligence. But in the days to come, what we are going to see is with the capability of the chips improving, what we are going to see is the emergence of artificial general intelligence, AGI, artificial narrow intelligence to artificial general intelligence, when artificial intelligence would equal the brains of mankind. What equal mankind? See, today computers are a step below the brain capacity of mankind, but with artificial general intelligence becoming a reality, that is the time when computers would gain equal strength as mankind. But again, going a few years down the line, we are also going to see something called artificial super intelligence, ASI, ANI, AGI, ASI. And ASI is something which uh, people are concerned about. But again, beyond see, with Neuralink, with Starlink, see, we are even otherwise going to be in a connected world where all of us would have the competence and capability to use machines more effectively. If you ask me, I'm not concerned beyond the point about that. Okay, then what else are we going to see other than this? We are going to see a mobileless connected world where we'll not be carrying our mobiles, but through our Neuralink, through Starlink, we would be connected. We are also going to see the emergence of superhumans. But more than all that, one thing which I believe is very important is something called just-in-time skills. If you see people in coding space in the last 1 year, 1.5 years, all of them are learning a new language called Flutter. Flutter is something which can be used with Android, with iOS and Windows. It is actually a product of Google. So which means, see, today the life of a skill is coming down, and every now and then you will have to learn new skills. Only then you will be able to stay current and up to date. So what we are going to see is the emergence of something called just-in-time skills. All of us have heard a lot about just-in-time inventory management, just-in-time manufacturing, but this is something which is totally, totally different, called just-in-time skills. And that is what we are going to see in the days to come. Now, uh, now we are actually going into the, see, till now we were actually passing through, trying to understand technologies and exponential technologies, or what was happening in technology. But now let us try to analyze what entrepreneurship is. What is entrepreneurship? Can we define entrepreneurship? Because for us at TIE, promoting entrepreneurship is a passion that we all share collectively. And and um, how can we define entrepreneurship? What is entrepreneurship? In fact, I've listened to various definitions of entrepreneurship. The one thing which has stuck to my mind, was the definition given by none other than Dhirubhai Ambani. It seems Mukesh Ambani was in Wharton, US, studying. And immediately after his course, he was sort of airlifted back to India by Dhirubhai Ambani and given an office in their corporate office in Mumbai. And it seems after a week, Mukesh Ambani, sort of a little furious, walks into his father, Dhirubhai Ambani's room, and asks him, without my liking, you have forced me to come back to India. I wanted to work for some time in US and gain some experience, and only then I wanted to come back to India. But you didn't allow me to do that. You sort of forcibly brought me back to India. After bringing me back to India, you have given me an office, a table, everything. But till now, you have not told me what I should be doing. What is it that I should do? Then it seems Dhirubhai Ambani looked into Mukesh Ambani's eyes and asked him a question. What is it that you aspire to become in life? Do you want to become to become an employee, or do you want to become an entrepreneur? What is it that you aspire to become? And it seems Mukesh Ambani sort of, with a frowning face, said, why ask? I want to become an entrepreneur. Why doubt? Then it seems Dhirubhai Ambani said, if you want to become an entrepreneur, there are two things that you should do. One, find a problem. Two, find a solution. That, in essence, is entrepreneurship. And going through Mukesh Ambani's life, we can see him doing this repeatedly. So I'm sure I show in one of the previous slides, I show you Mukesh Ambani mentioning in 2016 that the days of fossil fuel and petroleum are numbered. But I'm sure at least 10 years before that, he would have come to the realization that this is going to happen. And I'm sure he would have gone back to the drawing board, to what his father had originally told him. Find a problem, find a solution. And what was the problem that he found? The problem was India had one of the costliest internet connections in the world and the cheapest TV connection in the world. When most of the developed countries had cheap internet, India had cheap TV connections. What does a TV do? What does an internet do? A TV is a total waste of time. It will make you watch serials. It will make you watch useless political discussions. It will make you watch cricket. On the contrary, what would internet do? Internet empowers a person. Imagine even the most uneducated person walking into a village office with his mobile video switched on. I'm sure the village officer wouldn't act smart. He would be a little careful because just a mobile phone can take this village officer life. And that is what internet can do. Internet can empower a person, make him powerful. Thanks to social media, all these things, convergence of technologies. Today, internet is something which can empower a person. And that was the problem Mukesh Ambani found. And what was the solution that he found? The solution was Geo, the cheapest internet in the world. Thanks to Mukesh Ambani, thanks to Geo, today India has got the cheapest internet connection in the world. Internet connection in the world. World, I repeat that. We have the cheapest in the world. That is entrepreneurship. I still remember the day Geo was launched. Mukesh Ambani said, this is not the cutting edge of technology, this is the bleeding edge of technology. For someone to have invested 2.5 lakh crore in a project which has repeatedly shown casualties in the past, many companies flaunted, many companies perished. In such a sector, this company this man came in. He found a problem, he found a solution, and invested not just a few thousand crores, but 2.5 lakh crore to create Geo. And rest is history. Within 1 year, Geo became profitable. Today, it is one of the most profitable tech companies in the world. In the last 1 year, when the whole world was passing through a crisis, we saw 1 lakh 1,40,000, 20 billion US dollar, 1,40,000 crores of investment flowing into Geo platform. And that is entrepreneurship. But again, don't get a feeling that entrepreneurship is only for the son of Dhirubhai Ambani. If you can find a problem and a solution, even ordinary people can create success stories. And that is the power of an idea. See, this is the story of a young boy, an Israeli boy, uh, who was I still remember around 2012, this boy was running around to get an idea. And what he came across was, see, all of us see air conditioners everywhere. What do we see on the backside of the air conditioner? We see the compressor, we see the all those plastic covers and the pipes and all that. But again, one young boy noticed the few drops of water falling out of that air conditioner, and he thought, there are many places in the world which doesn't have water. Why don't I use this same technology to create water? And in the air conditioner, where is this water coming from? See, in the air conditioner, something called dehumidification happens. Only when the air in the room is dehumidified, when water particles are removed, cooling efficiency would improve. So for that, something called dehumidification is done. And when dehumidification is done, water drops fall. And that is what we see falling from the backside of an air conditioner. And his company, he used this idea, and the first machine that he created was something like a double door refrigerator. See, I think all of us see these huge side by side refrigerators with doors to both sides in these premium home appliances showroom. No? So like that, he created a machine that could be plugged into the power line, and a machine that was meant to be kept in bus stands, railway stations, airports. You just plug into the power line. From the air, the machine would start generating water. It has got a storage space and glasses also kept in front. So anyone wanting water can drink water, the purest of water, which is actually taken out of thin air, nothing else, just electricity and the machine. And company was named Watergen. And what happened was the entire world took note of this. In 2012, even Time magazine had a cover story on this idea and this boy and this company. But what happened was, this boy, since he was based in Israel, he had done patenting only in Israel. But what happened was, over the next 3 years, between 2012 and 2015, around 15 huge manufacturing companies got into the space. So because the patent was only in Israel, patent protection was weak. Without his permission, all of them got into manufacturing of this same machine, including LG from South Korea. But this boy didn't lose hope. What he did was, he created a miniature size of this machine. And that is what you are seeing in the image. in the form of a backpack that can be carried, and you can also see a strap on top. In that, you can actually put a foldable solar panel. And today, and once that was created, he went to the US and Europe and got it patented. Today, he hold a 24-hour, 24-year, 25-year patent for this particular product, and he is the only manufacturer authorized today to manufacture this. Today, all the armed forces around the world, every country, irrespective of big or small, are using his machine for the armed forces. When they go for an operation, one of them would carry this machine on his back. A small group is growing, so one of them would carry this on the back. And if they want water, what they do is they put the machine on the floor, open the solar panel, plug it in, and after some time it would start generating water. Today, the valuation of the company is 4 billion US dollar. The CEO of the company, Arya Kohavi. About 1.5 years back, this young boy, he is still only around 32, 33 years old. He came to India because India government is purchasing this in huge numbers. And there were people like Anand Mahindra and Ratan Tata lined up to meet this young boy. Reason, they wanted to become his manufacturing partner in India. Thanks to Make in India program, anything that is purchased by the armed forces within a time frame, it has to be manufactured in India. And and people like Anand Mahindra and Ratan Tata were lining up to meet this young boy. So again, this is power of an idea. Find a problem, find a solution. What was the problem? Scarcity of water. What was the solution? This water jet. Again, next power of idea. And I think this particular power of idea need no further introduction. The power of an idea. Zoom Video Communications is an American communication technology company headquartered in California. Eric Yuan, a former Cisco WebEx engineer, founded Zoom in 2011 and launched its software in 2013. One thing which I always admire in this guy is his conviction and passion. What he did was he's perfected his product so well, now in spite of not getting much traction. And by the time COVID came in 2020, none of the big players, whether be it Microsoft, be it Google, be it Facebook, none had a comparable video conferencing platform. And thanks to Eric Yuan, we are having this talk on Zoom. And this is also a power of idea. This is also a power of conviction. This is also a power of persistence. Find a problem, find a solution. Problem that he found, and how did he come to this problem? If you if you if you if you go to the story of Eric Yuan, he was born in China, and in his younger days, he had his education in China, and he had to travel 10 hours by train to meet his girlfriend. And Zoom is actually a solution that he created to meet his girlfriend. So that was the problem. Zoom is the solution. So for each one of us, finding a problem and finding a solution are success mantras that we should look forward to for our success. Today, it is a $1 billion entity. And Eric Yuan is a billionaire today, one of the richest people in the world today. Okay, before I conclude, I would also like to speak about India, the superpower in the making. See, around 2000, the world recognized India as the IT capital of the world. And even today, nothing has changed with that. If you see the CEO of Google, CEO of Microsoft, IBM, All the big names have CEOs uh, with Indian origin, and that shows what we have in our head. But having said that, 1990 to 2015 was the time when China was growing. China was the fastest growing nation in the world. And during that time, China became the most economic, the most, uh, almost the most powerful economy in the world. Today, no doubt, even China has become a threat to the most powerful country, the US. And that is what China is today. But after 2015, the last quarter of 2015, India overtook China to become the fastest growing nation in the world. If you ask me, the next 25 to 30 years belong to India. And it is a prediction which is already there, recorded. If you see the Goldman Sachs prediction, the first one in 2002 and the second supplementary paper published in 2007, they have very clearly said that by 2020, India would start growing faster than China. And we are seeing exactly that. What was the reason for that? There was a reason for that. It didn't happen just by default or just by design. There is a reason for that. If we try to analyze what was happening, you would understand that. See, one, uh, the both India and China were the youngest in an aging world. If you see, India is the youngest. The average age of China today is 34 years. The average age of India is only 29 years today. And more than that, there was something else, the productive age group percentage of the society. In the year 1990, China was the highest with 69% of the population in the 20 to 60 year age group. That point of time, India was at 64%. There was a 5% difference. But again, slowly we started seeing India also growing fast. But the population control enforced by China has started reducing the population in China. But again, India being a democratic country, when when a government says something, the opposition would say something totally against that, and there would be a set of people speaking against that, and it is always a debate and a discussion. So nothing happens overnight. Every decision has to go through a long process. And because of that reason, when everyone said controlled population, we were not doing that as a nation. And our population went on increasing. And because for that reason, by 2020, the, the age statistics and the population statistics show that India would have the highest, and it will reverse between India and China between what happened in 2090, 1990 and 2020. 30 years time frame, it reversed. So today, India is the highest with 69%, and China is the second highest with 64%. That is one of the most contributing factors to this growth. Top of that, we have solar power replacing petrol. If you see last 40, 50 years, major chunk of the foreign exchange that we could earn as a nation was being spent to buy crude oil. That would stop in the next 10 years. We would have sunlight. We would have more electric cars. And that, imagine when all that money gets invested into our infrastructure, that would trigger our growth. And again, on top of all that, the information superhighway, thanks to Mukesh Ambani, thanks to Geo, the information superhighway, which is a strength of our nation. And again, population of 1.3 billion, 55% owning mobile. Today, it is India can be considered as one of the best markets to try out a new technology or a new business model. That is the biggest opportunity that we are sitting on. Once an idea or a business model or a technology succeeds in India, we can easily copy paste that in other parts of the world. See, for us, one of the most important things to succeed is to be at the right place at the right time. I believe India is the right place. The next 30 years belong to India. Nobody can take it away from us. Opportunities for each one of us, age of young entrepreneurs, age of unicorns. What is this? See, over the last 15 years, roughly about 700 unicorns were created around the world. Roughly 700. What are unicorns? Unicorns are companies with a valuation exceeding a billion US dollar. Roughly 700 companies were 700 unicorns were created over the last 15 years, starting with Google, starting with Facebook, Uber, Ola, um, even in India, Udan, Big Basket, uh, um, Oyo Rooms, um, uh, so many. There are so many companies. In fact, the list is fairly long. So all these companies, if you see, were created not by older people with gray hair. No, they were created by all of them were created by young people. Most of these companies, if you take Uber, the idea was conceived when the promoter was in his 20s, and the company became a unicorn when the promoter was in his 30s, which means all these unicorns, except less than 1%, 99% of these unicorns were created by young entrepreneurs below the age of 40. Idea was conceived when they were in their 20s. Companies became unicorns when they were in their 20s. So what are we seeing? We are seeing an opportunity for each one of you, young entrepreneurs present in the group, students present in the group. This is your world. This is your opportunity. Utilize that. See, to achieve that, to utilize that, what is it that you need? I believe there are three things that you need. One, change your mindset to see every problem as an opportunity. Find a problem, find a solution. So every problem should be seen as an opportunity, not as a problem. So the biggest problem with our society is that many of us have this habit of raving about the problems in the society. No, we entrepreneurs don't do that. We look at every problem as an opportunity. The moment we change our mindset from looking at it as a problem to looking at it as an opportunity, everything would change. So that is the first thing that each one of you should do. Next is change your mindset from local and linear to global and exponential. Change your mindset from local and linear to global and exponential. We heard about Google, we heard about Facebook, we heard about uh, many companies. All these companies, uh, Uber, see, all these companies, what they've done is they've created global and exponential organizations. Low instead of local and linear. What is linear? Linear means, see, today if you ask to some businessmen in Kerala, you ask them about growth. What is the growth that you are looking at in 21, 22? If you ask them, they would say, I'm looking at, say, 15% growth. And if he is able to achieve 50, anything about 10%, he is happy. If he is able to achieve 20% growth, he is on top of the world. But that is not the way organizations like Uber and Facebook and Google think. They have a different thought pattern. They have something called exponential growth. 15% growth is nothing for them. They look at something called 10x growth. If they are not able to grow in a particular business segment 10 times, over a period of 1 year, they wouldn't remain in that business. If you see Google, they get into many business models every year. But when they see that they are not able to grow at this pace, immediately they'll get out of that. So 10x growth is the norm which they practice. So change your mindset from local and linear to global and exponential. Next is what is next? Find your MTP, find your moonshot. What is MTP? MTP is massively transformative purpose. Massively transformative purpose. All of us should have some massively transformative purpose. It is very important. See, for me, if you ask me what is my MTP, I want to help the farmers. I want, in fact, one of the things which I had been working on, one, I'm trying to create in my plantation a model that any farmer can copy to create a profitable farming model. That is what which I do on one side, creating now mechanization of farming, livestock farming, farm tourism, adventure tourism, bringing together all things, all these to create intercomplementary model. And I'm also I also over time want to create something called an Institute of Agripreneurship where I can teach all this to anyone wanting to learn that. So that is one of the no, that is part of my MTP. On the other part, I'm also in the process of creating an online platform that would help farmers get higher price for whatever they produce. And how can they do that? They can do that by avoiding middlemen. If you take vegetables and fruits, if farmers can avoid two layers of middlemen uh, 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 between the farmer and the retailer, what would happen is there is going to be a 40% price advantage which can be shared between the two, between the farmer and the retailer. So that is a platform which I am working on. That I believe is my personal MTP, massively transformative purpose. And we have a company for that, right from 2007. We formed the company in 2017, trying out various models. End product should be ready in the next few months, in probably this month or the month after that. It should be ready, and that is my MTP. So creating something, a solution, something that would help the farming community is my MTP. Next is what is your moonshot? Find your moonshot. Find your moonshot. What is a moonshot? Moonshot is something which is a little audacious. If you speak out about that, people should say that you are a little crazy. And I believe all of us should have an element of craziness in us. And um, all of us need to find our moonshot. So a little crazy ambition that people would ridicule you. All of us should have that. And so, point is, find your MTP, find your moonshot. When someone ridicule you, when someone think that you are crazy, then you can be sure that it is an actual moonshot. So that is it. So finally, to come to the end, how can you eat an elephant? See, most of us, when we think about all this, we have the feeling that, see, big things are difficult. If people can talk, but doing it is not very easy. How can you eat an elephant? The answer is simple, one bite at a time. Uh, this is exactly the same with most of the tasks that we tackle. We look at the whole task. What we really need to do is break them down into thin slices and then tackle them one at a time. This is very, very important. See, all of us generally, when we think of a big idea, a big plan, we get sort of totally demotivated. Instead, what we need to do is if we have a big dream, a big ambition, what we need to do is we need to chop it down to smaller pieces which can be tackled easily. And one by one, we need to tackle these small pieces. And over time, all of us would end up eating the elephant. See, to conclude, let me say that most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. This is very, very important in life. None other than Bill Gates has said this. He was one of the richest person in the world for a long time. And uh, what he said has got stuff, something very important. I believe if we have a big ambition, a big goal, what we need to do is we need first to chop it down to pieces and over a period of time, not in 1 year time, but if we can have a 10-year plan, we can comfortably see it through. So with that, I come to the end of my presentation. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask.